Today, we have prepared 3 interesting topics related to the latest developments in spaceflight. In the first topic, we will focus on the test of the Indian spacecraft Gaganyaan, which included an in-flight test of the launch escape system. The second topic will cover the test of an unusual prototype, Starship 26, which conducted a static fire. The final topic of today's episode will be about another launch of the Falcon 9 rocket, which placed an additional 21 Starlink system satellites into orbit. On October 21st, the Indian Space Research Organization, or ISRO, conducted a highly significant test. India has been working on the Gaganyaan spacecraft for several years, which is intended to transport astronauts into orbit. To ensure safe launches, the spacecraft must have an escape system. ISRO had previously conducted partial tests of the escape tower system, but this time, the first in-flight test was scheduled. The launch from the Satish Dhawan Space Center was planned for 3:15 Universal Time, but the countdown stopped 5 seconds before liftoff due to issues with igniting the engine. Although such issues often result in at least a 1-day delay in the launch, this time the problem was quickly resolved and the launch took place at 4:30 Universal Time.
Plus 5 seconds.
Here we have a textbook liftoff of
Plus 10
TVD-1, a
seconds.
major milestone towards ISRO's Gaganyaan mission.
Plus 50.
An unusual rocket was used as the carrier for the escape system. It was a modified L-40 booster of the Indian GSLV rocket using liquid propellants.
By which time,
Performance normal.
1 minute after liftoff, at an altitude of just under 12 kilometers, the actual test was conducted. The spacecraft separated from the rocket, and the solid fuel motor, part of the escape system, ignited and carried the capsule away. In real operations, the escape system would activate if there were a malfunction in the rocket, and an explosion was imminent.
quick succession of events here. All the events have been taking place as per the prediction.
Within a few seconds, the capsule ascended to an altitude of about 17 kilometers, where the escape tower was jettisoned. The capsule then gradually deployed 10 parachutes and landed in the Bay of Bengal, approximately 10 kilometers from the launch site.
Released away from the crew module.
Impact is sensed.
Now the confirmation is available for a successful splashdown of the
Helicopters and Indian Navy ships were waiting in the vicinity to transport the capsule to the port. Experts will evaluate the status of the onboard systems, allowing the development of the Gaganyaan program to proceed safely. The prototypes of SpaceX's Starship spacecraft, constructed at their Starbase facility in Texas, share some common characteristics. However, Starship 26 stands out at first glance. It lacks both front and rear wings and is not equipped with any heat shield. Its smooth stainless steel surface gives it the appearance of a giant projectile. The absence of wings and a heat shield is a characteristic of the crewed lunar lander that SpaceX will supply for NASA's Artemis program. While Starship 26 is not intended for lunar flights, it is possible that this is a test prototype for such purposes. Starship 26 was built several months ago and has undergone several tests. In recent days, the pace of testing has increased. On October 18th, Starship 26 conducted a pre-burner test of one Raptor engine. It's worth noting that SpaceX rarely performs these tests. The last one took place 705 days ago on Starship 20. On October 20th, Starship 26 continued its tests. This time, it conducted a static fire of one rocket engine, which operated longer than usual for such tests. Later, SpaceX announced that this test was a simulation of a deorbit burn. This term refers to a propulsion maneuver that a spacecraft performs in orbit to slow and leave its orbit for the purpose of landing. SpaceX is likely conducting these tests because they currently have a time on their hands. Authorization from the Federal Aviation Administration for the launch of Super Heavy B9 and Starship 25 has not yet been granted. Therefore, the company is currently testing hardware. We may see a wet dress rehearsal, a complete simulation of pre-launch activities, including fueling, next week. The launch cadence of the Falcon 9 rocket is unparalleled. On October 21st at 8:23 Universal Time, 9 Merlin rocket engines ignited once again. The Falcon 9 lifted off from Launch Complex SLC-4E at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California and ascended into the night sky.
And the liftoff of Falcon 9, go SpaceX, go Starlink Group 7-6. Vehicles touching downrange.
Starlink 7-5 mission marked SpaceX's 75th orbital launch of the year. This number is truly remarkable, and we'll attempt to place it in a broader context. In 2021, SpaceX performed 31 rocket launches. Last year, in 2022, they achieved 61 launches. We are approaching the end of October, and SpaceX has already completed 75 launches this year. To put this into perspective, if we were to place 75 SpaceX launches on one side of a hypothetical scale and all non-American launches for this year on the other, it would be almost a draw. China, Russia, India, Europe, Japan, Iran, North Korea, Israel, and South Korea have conducted a total of 79 orbital launches this year, just 4 more than SpaceX. However, if we counted only successful launches, we would reach 75, the same number SpaceX has achieved so far. All of SpaceX's orbital launches this year have been successful. During the Starlink 7-5 mission, Falcon 9 carried a total of 21 Starlink communication satellites into orbit. The first stage of the rocket was used for the 16th time, and its landing on the "Of Course Why Still Love You" drone ship was flawless. Thank you for your attention to today's episode of Spaceflight News. We are delighted in your interest in space news, and to ensure you do not miss future episodes, kindly consider subscribing to our channel. Additionally, you can find other interesting news on our profile on social network X, formerly known as Twitter. The link can be found in the video description.